Hello and welcome back. Been taking a hiatus, but we are in the virus. So I got some time on my hands, and I was kind of going to speed up this process anyway. I'm on spring break anyway. A lot of things have converged, uh, some expected, some unexpected. With the virus, spring break, I'm moving, and all this stuff is starting to come on me. But I'm secure right now, and it'd be nice if I could knock this project out before I have to move. That'd be great, dude. We only got 40 some more to go. Excuse me. My name is Tomlins Nyback. This is the one and only web video log, we could say. 365 days towards racial change. Glad to be back with you. Big gap between 310 and this is episode 311. So we're here talking about black issues. If you're new, talking about black issues in America, current events, how they relate, and all this. Very, very relevant to see what we can brainstorm as the globe goes through this pandemic. Uh, if you keep up on these kind of things, frequency and intensity uh, gets stronger and stronger, almost like what a cliche kind of woman in childbirth and you know coming to terms in each trimester. Um, Events get more intense and they get closer and closer until the day. Well, I think something's going on the planet on a lot of different things. In a lot of different ways, militarily, economically, all the ecolies, ollies you can think of. Here, this is medically, you know, and I've said it before, no big secret. I was strung out on um, crack cocaine for many years, and I had no idea. Like I was so messed up that I had no idea some of these pandemics and viruses were circulating in the globe and that it was such an emergency. So I missed some of this H1N1, Ebola. Like you can be so caught up in your own stuff that you can miss the current events. And who knows? And even on that note, many years ago, I had a serious pneumococcal infection. If anybody knows about pneumonia and how severe that can get, came this close to dying. Both lungs filled with dark, infected fluid, and I was drowning within myself. If I and I was, I thought I had a bad flu or a bad sickness, and I almost died. Anyway, I say that because from that experience, I can kind of tolerate a lot. It brings you to a space like, you know, yeah, 101 degree temperature, right? I mean, my temperature was consistently 103, flirting with above for a whole week when I was in the hospital. So it didn't, um, it didn't, the symptoms I'm hearing and stuff, excuse me, they don't phase me that much, which is problematic if I get this infection. But I'm very optimistic. Um, the city I'm in, we're kind of what you call an island. Our city is like an island in America. So we're not expecting things. We're distancing and all that stuff. Now what's that mean racially? What does illness look like? What's the recovery does skin color still, is it still a relevant issue in America? Right? I say yes. You know, like somebody down the road, and I have fans and people have subscribed and watch. Thank you and whatnot. I'm going to get to that 119. If you notice, 119 is missing. I'll give you that in the story later on. So I've not forgotten 119. That's a special stupid thing that Google was a little too strict on. But we thank Google because I don't pay anything for this to be talking to myself. Anyway, it does matter racially, even with all what's going on, right? It's a crisis. But to some degree, when have black people not been in a crisis? Now, I'm going to say, in all fairness, society, things are kind of quiet, and we can rest in saying that some of the overt racial issues, uh, shooting in that South Carolina church, the 60s, slavery, those things, we can see them ebbing, but racism has, don't be fooled by the cessation of violence and overt racism. Um, what I mean, don't be fooled in in the sense of peace and calm in the land, right? When we have this term, I've been reflecting on this, and actually a friend, a white friend I have, love him a lot. He told me about this term we have adopted, this new language that's emerged from this social distancing, and he says, that term has some problems. There's some issues inherent in it, right? See, when I'm on the train alone, or I should say by myself, before, we'll say before the pandemic, people socially distanced themselves from me. Right? Social distancing is nothing new to this black person, because the segment of society has already socially distanced itself from me because of this right here, right? Layer on top of that infectious disease that nobody knows, who's got it, what's going on. But what a justification, what a um, we regressed, I think, from whatever traction we were having racially in this country. Now, with social distancing because of the virus, I think we may have just gone backwards a little bit on this issue. Um, so that's where we're at. Racism, race, race is just a relevant issue. It's always going to be that in America because America is built on that. America came from racism. America, when it, from its inception, when you got off the boat, your skin color determined where you went, who you were, what's going on, who you're going to be with, your economic status, how hard you would work, your associations, the nature and structure of your privilege, right? See, when you came across the ocean from Europe, you get off the boat, uh, see a lot of black people doing a lot of hard work and a lot of managerial white folks, right? And see, when the boats came from Africa by way of Jamaica or some of those islands where the slaves actually went first, maybe get some education before they came up to America. The slave, black man or woman's, getting off the boat, they're like, you see a lot of black people doing a whole lot of hard work and white people directing traffic, right? That's from the beginning of this nation. And you don't get too far from the the roots of where you start from, right? If you put a bunch of Earthlings on a spaceship and go fly out, let's say even to Mars, another planet, well, the people are going to behave in the manner that's going to reflect their origins, where they're from, right? So America's not gotten away. It's America's gotten very scientific and refined in how it mitigates the problems with inequalities, inadequacies, keeping a specific buffer zone between colors, right? Making it very hard to cross over, very hard. Let me end. I'm going to end with this before I get into our standard introduction. Uh, I've been away for a while, so I might be a little off my game. But right now, today, the Senate and House and people are putting together this $1 trillion package and stuff, which they want to print off and run off some money. Which, if you've known, uh, I'm sure sometime last year, a few times I've mentioned the creature from Jekyll Island, the dangers of printing off money kind of as needed, and that's a very bad, bad thing to do economically. But that's a whole nother story, and I'm not a really expert. But I know it's not a good thing to do to be just go print off and create money that like easily, snapping your finger. That's another thing. But what a point I'm making is like some of the tension and the debates happening on the floor is where the money goes, right? You've got some people say, well, no, give it directly to the people, the workers and stuff, so they can maneuver. But you got this other crew, and I'm biased because I'm a blue collar. I'm not a rich guy. I'm not independently this or that. So I'm biased. You know, I'm a person that's going to support the worker, right? Give money, relief to the people doing the work. But you got the other side of the equation where they want to give money to the businesses so that they can employ and work, keep people working and stuff. Uh, it, it might take some time, but if you get me a loan, you'll find how the work. To me, it's the anathema of human existence, right? One person working for another to make it right. We talked a lot about slavery. There was a slave got just enough so they could keep going. Well, that's what work is. It's not. You're not self-determining your life. You're not enjoying your life working for somebody. That's not that's not what people are born on the earth to do, to be, to work for somebody, right? That's the whole thing. But there's so right now, there's there's this binary going on about where to put stimulus packages and money and stuff. Maybe we'll hear some more about it. I've got a couple days worth of notes in here to digest and speak on. But let's get into it because a lot of complicated things are going on right now. And at the end of April, it might just be a whole new earth if we're still here. Uh, I'm inspired to do this work by a man named Dr. Claud Anderson. He's written a lot of great works. He's probably still writing. You can find him here on YouTube here and other places on the web. Not a hard guy to find. I've read 3 of his works, which informs our discussion here. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. We are referencing this book for the next 3 episodes at least. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. And Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com here on YouTube. Just Google his name and you'll get a lot of hits on that. Behind me, you see the hashtag #US2 symbol. So a kind of response, a reaction to the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement that was essentially white women. This is more black or people of color, women of color focused. Go check them out. You can find them on Facebook, I believe. I've not checked them out in a while. I got to go ahead and search them on Facebook again myself, see what's going on. But I'm sure they've not gone far. And, check out Black Enough, BLAGGAENUF. It's more of a Black Facebook experience. If you got a business mind, go holler at Dr. Boyce Watkins at the Black Business School. Tell him Tomlin's Nyback sent you. And finally, we're done with this, but maybe we'll maybe do some review when I get that closer to that 365. Uncle Tom's Cabin. We've gone through this whole book and looked at fictional account of slave life, but very influential book, pre-Civil War, and raised a lot of eyebrows when it came back. Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work. All right, day 311. We're going to do a 3-parter here about reparations. This is question number 88 out of a Black History Reader. It says, our government has paid reparations to numerous groups. Why won't it pay reparations to Native blacks for slavery? Very good question there posed by Dr. Anderson. And he's cited a few reparations that the country has engaged in. 12 billion for post-war Germany. Money paid to the Jewish Holocaust victims, the surviving Jewish Holocaust victims. Money paid to rebuild Japan and to help the Japanese people that were in internment camps during World War II. We had to hide this. The nation did not trust Japanese Americans, so we put them in internment camps. Reparations to Mexico, which it's interesting. We have all these issues at the border and whatnot, and after the Mexican-American War, there's more stimulus packages for Mexico. Even as late as 2016, Dr. Anderson is citing more reparation money to German Jews who came to America. So reparations is not a boy. It's not a difficult, challenging term uh, to get um, to get our head around, right? A people, a group, a nation's been mistreated by America to some degree at some point in time, and they get some favors. They get some land. They get um, money, favor, whatever. Black folks. There are little pockets of how would you say privileges out there. You know, education and there's different black groups, NAACP entities like that. Even the Nation of Islam to some degree. Where they may resources for black folks may coalesce. You know, um, but it just doesn't have the same vigor for this you know support for black folks as say Native Americans, Jews, Japanese, uh, and the like. Black folks, we're always struggling and begging, and there needs to be um, more debates and challenges around doing the right thing. Now here is a problem. I like the West Wing. I love the West Wing. Um, Martin Sheen, great, makes a great president. You're inside the White House and all this stuff. But the one episode, you have a black man representing, um, reparations for black folks, and the West Wing tries to address a whole lot of interesting topics, almost prophetic in some ways. But in this particular episode, this black man, he gives the calculation of what reparations would look like monetarily. Like, what's the dollar amount? Boom, that would, satisfy um, any debate and argument and all the challenges, friction over the reparations issues. And the figure he quoted was in the trillions of dollars, right? I mean, because you're talking, unpaid labor, uh, and all the abuses, inflation, interest, right? So, on one hand, monetarily compensating the ancestors now of black slaves is just challenging on a whole lot of levels. But as far as financially, it's an impossibility to, trillions of dollars. Um, it, right? It's so we're realistic. I'm realistic about any dollar amount, right? If you get this project here, 365 days towards racial change, it would really be nice if the power group would just lay off totally of its obstructionist ways, of its constant on the meddling, resistance. History does not paint a good um, image of the power group being inclusive and wanting black people to participate and um, having doors open and having um, minimal resistance to black success. right? It's just not on record of being like that. And what what's needed, you know, is like in my case, in my example, the recent workplace right at the end of last year, 2019, right, working with logistics, a distributor, or carrying company, uh, you know, humping boxes like you know, getting stepped over and looked over, passed over for promotion, right? And it's more than my feelings were hurt and I felt I should have got it. It's like there was nobody more qualified than me in this space, and I wish I have no way of proving that, right? And their promotion practices are conveniently, you know, unethical. That's all I could say. Just unethical. That's the best person in the space, attendance, track record, broken his body, running skilled equipment, right? All this stuff, but they're giving it to younger white people, right? So um, that'd be a great start to any reparations um, argument. Uh, so we start out, okay, blacks excluded from these various reliefs, Germany, and we war and stuff. Who knows what, and what the uh, what the final bill is for our work in Afghanistan, Iraq, right? Um, countries we go in and dominate, and we find a way to massage their economy, train their military and law enforcement and stuff. That's big stuff, right? So America already has a history of reparations for other people. We can agree on that. That's on the books. Um, Dr. Anderson, he makes a note, in this section that when polled anonymously, whites are opposition um, in overall to help blacks. And I'll say, and I said this before, I've got a lot of white people in my life who I love and who are supportive, and I just can't imagine them being um, in favor of any kind of agenda that puts black people at a disadvantage. Um, but we're just talking in general, right? White people they don't want to see black people in their neighborhood and stuff like that, without shame. I can talk, various areas, portions of cities in America, Northeast Philadelphia, um, portions of Chicago. Every city has its space where black people just are not welcome, just are not allowed. That being able to live side by side with black folks, that'd be a nice movement and gesture towards bringing us um, you know into the American position of citizenship for everybody. We're a long way off. Maybe this virus will level things out, kill off just the right people. Ah, United Nations has always been on our side for, they weren't on record back in 2016. And um, we'll end with this. Let's see. It was September 27, 2016, in reference to Black reparations. They made a statement: the colonial history, the legacy of enslavement, racial subordination and segregation, racial terrorism, and racial inequality in the U.S. remains a serious challenge, and there has been no real commitment to reparations. And I want to add, no real commitment to really seeing Black people live in and experience, um, an equal citizenship experience in America. Got a long way to go. A long way to go. Listen, I'm Thomas Nyback. I'm running over. I don't want to take you hostage. Hopefully, you are treating yourself well. Um, and come and see me next time at 365 days towards racial change. That's day 311 out of the way. Thank you.